This is ogforums.com Real Talk, an unfiltered, independent perspective on Acumatica Cloud ERP. My name is Tim Rodman, and I want to mention three things in this pre-recorded intro before we get started. First, thank you to our sponsors. Our first sponsor is Paya. Paya offers Acumatica users a suite of industry-leading payment orchestration tools. Far beyond native Acumatica payments, Paya enables EMV NFC terminals for countersale. They offer a frictionless customer portal through their click-to-pay solution, and they support most e-commerce platforms and point-of-sale solutions used with Acumatica, such as One Retail and AcuPOS. And best of all, omni-channel reconciliation is available for all their solutions. Our second sponsor is DataSelf. DataSelf Analytics is a revolutionary reporting solution that enables organizations to make the most informed decisions faster and easier than ever. It uniquely simplifies business intelligence, empowers anyone to build and access dashboards, and delivers critical business insight when and where you need it. Our third sponsor is Aldrich Web Solutions. Are you a distributor using Acumatica, yet struggling with an e-commerce fit? US-based Aldrich Web Solutions out of Marion, Illinois, has 2 decades of experience helping distributors find success online. Our team of experts built the integration, creating websites that work effortlessly with Acumatica. With our reputation for swift customer service and meticulous attention to detail, we are the perfect fit for distributors needing online solutions. Please take a minute to support this podcast by clicking each one of the sponsor banners located at augforums.com/sponsors. Our sponsors track clicks, and every click helps to support this podcast. The second thing I'd like to mention is that I'm always looking for victims. I mean guests. If you use Acumatica in any capacity, no matter how small, I'd love to talk with you. Check out augforums.com/podcast and click the link near the top of the page to learn more about being a guest on the podcast. Third and finally, I'd love to see you listed on my Rolodex. Check out augforums.com/Rolodex to find out who else is using Acumatica and read the instructions at the top to see how you can add yourself to the list. All right, that's it for the pre-recorded intro. Let's get started. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this live broadcast on dissecting the Winning Acumatica Hackathon project. There's probably not anyone watching this live, but this is an easy way to get something out there. It is a little after 8 o'clock at night, Eastern time for both Paul and I in the United States. And Paul, thanks for taking the time after the kids go to bed to jump on and geek out about the hackathon.
Yeah, they're not asleep yet. I can still hear them running around upstairs.
Gotcha. Well, if they come on camera, no problem. This is very informal.
Yeah, Tim, honestly, thanks for having me, man. I'm really excited.
Yeah, so, I mean, maybe you could tell us a little bit about the Acumatica Hackathon. Just happened a couple weeks ago. It's like right before the Acumatica Summit. Tell us your story about how things went this year for you.
Yeah, man. Well, here's my elevator pitch. If you are technical in any way and connected with Acumatica, I highly recommend you come to the Hackathon. It is my favorite place to go to, where a bunch of nerds and a couple marketing folks and a couple like systems level architect thinkers can all gather and come up with ideas where literally you have 24 hours to build, turn around a product, make a presentation, and then present it in front of this board of Acumatica execs. Nervous as all get up, but it really is a lot of fun to hang out with a lot of smart people. And so I jokingly say I love being the dumbest person in the room and just learning from everyone, and I walk away smarter. And also the Acumatica like hacker developer community is just absolutely incredible. A huge shout out to all of them.
Awesome. Yeah, so it starts around lunchtime on Saturday. The presentations are around lunchtime on Sunday, so about 24 hours. And then you go right into the official Acumatica Summit Sunday evening, completely sleep deprived, right? That's the only downside of it.
Yeah, it just depends on how well your system is built. It's funny, I was talking with a couple of the other teams, and some of the teams were like, yeah, we're done by 7 p.m. on Saturday, and so I got plenty of sleep. And then, of course, there's all kinds of teams that it's like 10, 11 p.m. on the Pacific time, and it's really 2 a.m. for me, and I'm like, oh gosh, I need to pass out.
Good point. Yeah, there's the whole flight implication of things, the people who just landed from who knows where, and yeah, there's a lot of that factor as well.
I don't have much to complain about. There's Sri Lankan developers that come in; those guys are my heroes. Anyways, okay, so I got started with the hackathons. I first came in a few years ago. I think 3 years ago was my first hackathon. This year in particular, we were throwing around a lot of ideas. A huge shout out to my entire team. We had, I believe, 6 different video meetings the weeks prior as we were getting closer. And we were pitching ideas, throwing as much as we could against the wall. But one idea kept sticking with us, and it came from a real problem from one of our hackathon team members.
Those are the best. Yeah.
I didn't believe this problem, to be honest, because one of the team members, they would receive a bunch of emails, their customer service team, constant flood of emails, as we all have experienced. And their customer service teams would get messages from their client saying, hey, I would like 2 pallets of this prepared. I'll be there in 4 hours. And so their customer service team, one, that requires them to constantly be glued to their computers, constantly be looking at the stream of emails and digesting them quickly, so that if there is any of those rush preparations, they can quickly send it over, make a sales order in Acumatica, bing, the bang, boom, get everything ready for the customer. But inevitably, what would happen is a customer service team member would miss an email, or maybe even they're just 2.5, 3 hours late on an email, and their lead time of 4 hours now goes down to no time. And so, again, the thing we joked about as a team is the customer being unreasonable? Maybe, probably a little bit, but also maybe we need to.
It doesn't matter.
Maybe we need to improve. Maybe we need to evolve to these responses. So I'm sitting here on this call thinking in my head, who's still sending sales orders via email in the first place? But so many businesses that I encounter, critical business functions are taking place in email.
I'm curious, do you know if this example from the team was a manufacturer?
Yes.
Yeah.
It was food. They were manufacturing like restaurant quality things that they would have to like create in pallets. So I'm assuming that wouldn't be warehouse functionality. They would have to.
I feel like in general, distributors have done a better job of having a legitimate e-commerce site. A lot of manufacturers are still by phone and by email. Yeah.
That's actually a really profound point. You're right.
That's a general thing, kind of a guess. I mean, it still happens, right? So you guys built a solution that reads an email and turns it into a sales order. That's the gist of it, right?
So the gist, you're absolutely right. We're trying our best not to build too much outside of Acumatica. And so fundamentally, if an email comes into Acumatica, we're pulling literally from just a GI we created that pulls emails from a specific inbox, right? We read the contents of that email, run it through an AI, a machine learning algorithm that sends us back information that we can then create a sales order on.
So can
we high level?
Can we just try it? And it might not work, but we'll just
why not?
Just start geeking out on it? Yeah, I would love to see it. I wasn't there for the presentations. I came by. You saw me Saturday night. I like interviewing the hackathon teams while they're in the intent. I think the first time I came around your table, you're like, I can't talk right now because we're trying to get something done. And then I caught you later. So I get the intense part of it, but I missed the actual presentation side. So I'd love to just like, walk us through what you built. It'd be cool.
Yeah. Okay. So let's see here. I wonder. Okay. So from a high level, we covered the base problem. I'm not even sure if our
should put your
instance of
post in here.
Acumatica. Say again?
Oh, yeah. Figure that one out. Go ahead. While you're figuring that out, I'm going to look up your post. Actually, first thing I'll put in here, I'm going to just start dropping stuff in the chat.
Mm-hmm.
So I think this will hit both LinkedIn and YouTube, but I'll just put it on the screen if it doesn't. That is the URL to the GitHub repositories for all of the hackathons. Sorry, all the hackathon teams. You were team 4, is that right?
Team 4, yes, sir.
Okay, so then your specific one is here. So that's the one that we're going to walk through, /team4-2025. And then you've written up some really good posts on your blog, and I'm trying to find that. It's just paulguilfoy.com.
Oh, yeah, here you go. Paul Guilfoy /hackathon 2025. Here, I'll post that.
Yeah, you can drop that in there. Just give people a reference point. Like they can go read your art. You did a really good job of recapping stuff. This is just a video version. And really what it is me get to pester you with a bunch of questions about AI because I've been trying to learn more about AI myself. So that's a really well, I think you're still kind of writing it, right? Like you did a chapter 1, chapter 2, or is it done?
Oh, no. I pretty much, the chapters were more me, how I was processing, putting it all out there.
Okay. So it's not an ongoing series like that. That's basically it. Which is,
I mean, frankly, based off of the demand, we might write more. Some of my marketing team was telling me, okay, I think they might have changed the credentials. I'm just looking up the hackathon site that we had.
Gotcha. Go for it. No problem.
Let me see.
While you're looking it up, is this something that if we need to on this, you're able to just deploy locally the customization project, or would it be trickier to do?
I might be able to. Let's see.
And no problem. The expectation here is not a super polished presentation. This is something that otherwise might not see the light of day. So no problem. If we don't get there, we'll do our best. While you're looking that up,
go ahead.
Go ahead. I'm just going to share my screen, just kind of give a visual on what you had written up here. So here is that paulguilfoy.com /hackathon 2025. And you broke it down into 5 chapters. You got a good backstory on it. Here's the general solution. Email comes from a customer into Acumatica. There's a natural language processing model. Looks like, is it Google Gemini that you're using?
Yeah. Yes, sir.
And then you're creating a sales order in Acumatica. And yeah, I like, you got some good write-ups on the different team members. The error rate was cool to me because let's see, where did you post that thing with the epochs? Epoch?
Oh, that was in LinkedIn. Okay, so long story short, I don't think I can get a dev environment up in short notice, and it looks like they locked us out of the one they had up for Hackathon.
Are you able to just deploy the customization project to a local, you think? Or does it need some other connection?
I don't actually have it built on my local, but if you have an API endpoint I could call.
But do you have like the customization project zip file that we could
it's
dump it into a local environment?
So it's actually here. Let me see if I can drop this.
Because you got a local environment, right? If you don't, I could spin one up here.
I do not.
Oh, you don't? Okay. Well, I do. If you have the customization project, I could just give it a whirl on my local.
Let me see. How could we do this?
while you figure that out, I'll show the other one. So I'll also show this post that you did. So like I just happened to start reading a book from O'Reilly Publishers.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I like O'Reilly because they're coder authored books. They're not fluffy books. But it's still really well written and easy for me to understand. And I wasn't sure what epochs were or epochs when you posted this, but basically it just means a trial. So like you first trial, second trial, third trial, and you can see how your model was getting a lot more accurate really fast within 5 trials. And what's interesting is the O'Reilly book that I'm reading, it was about 5 trials where their data got insanely accurate, within about 5 trials. So that's kind of interesting. But I love how you posted this level of detail.
Yeah, dude. Honestly, I'm if people are interested in it, I'm happy to share it.
I forgot to add it to the screen. There it is.
Yeah.
Interested? Oh, you mean just whatever it is? Doesn't matter what it is.
This stuff is fun for me because I just play around with it. Like, to be honest, and I know we haven't even gotten into this solution deeply, but this is stuff like AI and machine learning. I think I've fulfilled one client request using most AI and machine learning, right? The depth of this solution came from me playing on weekends, hacking things together, building little solutions, and just demoing just for fun in general. And the fact that this had
specifically the hackathon, or are you talking about stuff in general?
Specifically the hackathon.
Okay.
The ability to fine tune a model, to create a solution to fine tune a model in such a specific way that then I can put it within a business logic layer. And maybe I'm going too in depth. So maybe we'll step through this solution a little bit step by step first.
For me, I don't think there's such thing as too depth. But yeah, however you want to hit it. So what I hear you saying is you've already been playing with AI. This was not just an isolated hackathon thing for you.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, let me start through the solution. So in general, I will. Is it okay if I share my screen, Tim?
Yes. If you're ready, go for it.
Let me try this. Unfortunately, I don't think we'll have. Tell me if it's on.
I'm gonna get a local environment spun up while you're showing this. If you're able to send me the customization project, I can play with that on my side while you're walking through.
I don't know if it'll work on local specifically because you have to have an endpoint available.
Okay. That makes
so you'd
sense.
have to open up.
Yeah, I'm not gonna do that.
Yeah, don't worry.
All right.
And then we have to worry about like networking and
yeah.
All right. So in general, like I said, a team member was bringing up these examples, and just to show everyone, this is an example of what some of these emails might look like. Okay, it literally was things like, "Hi, we want 2 pallets of beef drippings. Can you help proceed?" That's pretty much all they would get to their customer service agent. And so inevitably you have this. The customer service agent is going to have to look at it. They're going to have to know who this customer is. They're going to have to know a few of these orders were like, send me the my normal order. I'll be there like in 2 weeks or something along those lines, right? So inevitably it requires a huge manpower of customer service to know the ins and outs of this customer, know the things that they normally order, and then have it prepared on time effectively. So when we built the solution, we formulated the training data like this, okay? I'll talk a little bit more later about what that fine tuning meant and why this training data is very specific. But effectively, we would take this email and notice it's in this format. It's a JSON object that I'm pulling from a GI via the endpoint in Acumatica. Are any of those words too big?
No, so I'm curious there. So the customization project, even though it's inside of Acumatica, it's essentially reading the Acumatica data from the Acumatica API. Is that right? Is that what you mean by endpoint?
Correct.
So really, this could have been a solution that you just put in the cloud somewhere, because the way you're talking to Acumatica data is through the API anyways.
Yeah. So if you want to see a little bit behind the curtain, let me see. I'll stop sharing my screen for a second. A little bit behind the curtain, we built this solution initially. I demoed it within a Google Colab, which is effectively a Juniper notebook. It's just code running on an instance that I control. Okay. I'm making API calls in Python using the request library. So it's effectively, I'm forming them in Postman, which is Postman is the tool that we formulate API calls with, or OData calls, make sure that they're shaped correctly, and then we put them into our solution, right? So this is just code that effectively I'm running effectively locally, I'm just making API calls to our Acumatica instance. Then we built a customization project that receives all of the emails, it stores them. It receives all of the transformations that our machine learning tool uses. So if this email outputs to, this is the input, this is the output, it stores that output. And then it has an asynchronous function that then will create the sales order. So that all is hosted within our customization project. As we were getting down to the wire, we were worried that our Acumatica code wasn't going to be able to do all those functions correctly. And so we had the backup of, hey, let's just get the Python code and have that prepared for the demo. The Acumatica code came in at the 11th hour and it works fine, and you can function it right within that customization project. But just for the demo's sake, we kept the Python Juniper notebook.
So the customization project doesn't have Python code in it, right? Because you got to write C# code in Acumatica. So you really had two parallel solutions, one just in case, okay, and one that you actually showed. Okay.
Yeah, correct. So we all right. So we have these emails, we're pulling them via GI in Acumatica, and there's even things to note, like it was in HTML format. So this is pretty messy data fundamentally. But the output that we wanted was something that looked like this. This is the body object of an API call to create a sales order. Pretty much the endpoint is just like, you could honestly use your default endpoint, default / whatever version of Acumatica you have, sales order. And then it'll probably be a put request if we're going really, really deep detail. And in that put request, this HTTP call, the API call, you'll tell it order type, sales order. This is the customer ID that I want this AI model to be trained on if you receive the email example we used. And I want you to pull out this inventory ID and understand from that email that they wanted 2 boxes of that. All right.
So what you're talking about right now is training. So
correct.
Yeah, describe to me a little bit what training means. So you're on the left-hand side is the email that someone might send you at the sample. On the right-hand side is the output. You've decided what the output should be.
Correct.
And this is part of training a model, right? Where you're giving an input output, right? So like you came up with this right here. The computer did not come up with this.
Correct. Okay. And frankly, I think I said in my blog post, probably 4 hours of hackathon time I spent making all of this data, taking real emails from customers, figuring out what is the shape of the API call, making sure that this data matches the email, and going through based on as many as examples as I can.
So how many did you wind up with? How many rows of sample data?
We had about 20 real emails.
Okay.
Okay. So you're beating me to the punchline. Long story short.
Sorry. Go ahead.
No. Okay. So we only have 20 real emails, right? We trained the AI model, and if we think about it intuitively, the information that we really need from an email is, who's it coming from, the subject, the body of their email. That's the inputs, really. What I really need out of that is what's their customer ID, what's the inventory item that they're ordering, what's the quantity, and ideally, like, when do they need it, right?
Are you assuming they're only ordering one thing, one line on a sales order?
We prepared for multiple. So there's a few examples in there. Yeah. Okay. So there's plenty of emails where someone ordered two. I believe we have one example of someone who ordered 3, but this is just 20 emails.
Okay.
I really want to emphasize, like, what could we do with 100? This is a tiny amount of emails that we were able to make the solution on. Okay, so we did the fine tuning, as you saw. If you want to see what fine tuning looks like with the loss in epochs,
I do. If you can.
Yeah. All right. So can you see my screen?
Yes, got it.
All right.
You able to zoom in, just
absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. Perfect.
Now, frankly, big disclaimer, if anyone is watching, if we are doing this with a live solution, with live customer data, we really want to fine tune like a llama model. And what that means is a model that you control, you own the weights. And pretty much you would have to run it either on your GPUs or GPUs that you rent. Okay. This, just for the hackathon, we're hacking together a solution. This exists within Google Cloud. It is hosted on their GPUs. It is their model. I think I talked with Troy Vars about this, and my biggest question was, if I'm training on Google's AI using their GPUs, using their studio, do they have access to my data? Because unknowingly, customers want to know this. If I'm training on my emails,
I would assume.
Exactly. I assume they have all of the data. They own it. I have to trust the big mega corporation that they have my best interest at heart. Let's just say.
Yeah. So one aspect is security. The other aspect, though, is, and this is something I'm still learning about. You said you own the what was the word you used? The
weights.
The weights. So are you at the mercy of Google's optimization, or are you able to one thing I'm still trying to understand is, how do you save what it learned?
So in this example, in this example, we are training on Google's AI Studio. You can do the same thing on ChatGPTs. You can do the same thing on Claude or whatever your favorite model is. You can do these fine tunings, and then effectively they give you here's what your model ID is. Here's the code. Here's your secret key.
Okay.
If you want to query this data.
That was one thing I had been wondering. Okay, interesting.
Yeah. So all of the loss and epochs that I was showing was this specific tuned model on those 20 examples.
So it's not gonna move. It's not gonna.
It doesn't
do any new learning unless you train it again.
Oh, correct. Yes.
Then talk about the weight.
And we can even.
I thought weights was training is weight something else.
So the example with the weights and parameters, or whatever you want to call them, is if I am downloading the Llama model or the new DeepSeek model. Okay, this is what's called a.
And if you do DeepSeek, I really would not expect data privacy. But yeah, go ahead.
Well, so if as long as you're not running on DeepSeek servers, if you own the weights, meaning I'm downloading it, and I'm running it on my GPUs and I'm controlling the networks, I know what's going in and out. Not really worried.
Oh, okay. All right.
And I will actually give props to DeepSeek. They have one of the most progressive open source licenses right now for any AI model.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
But you're right. You're right, Tim. If it's on their GPUs, you're totally right.
So owning the weights, I'm
Mhm.
still struggling to understand what owning the weights means. That doesn't mean owning the training of it. It's something else. Because here's what I think.
Yeah.
When I see that URL that you have on the screen, tuned model / Acumatica conference, ML training, blah, blah, blah. I think that has the weights fine tuned, but I think you're saying the weights are something else.
So we are technically talking about two different things.
Okay.
If I was to do this in a real solution, not like a hackathon solution, that is where I would want to own the weights myself and run them on my own GPUs or a GPU that I'm renting and I have full control over. And then the fine tuning that takes place, you can do a very expensive fine tuning where you back propagate through all of the weights. And when I say weights parameters, I want you to think it's effectively like a CSV file. If there's any math nerds out there, it really is matrix multiplications. If you ever remember these from your math classes, just a bunch of numbers. That's the big secret in machine learning is it's all math.
Yeah. It's not super crazy, right? Yeah.
It's when you start to learn how to do it, it's not as complicated as you'd think.
At like a cellular level, right? It's like each computation is not crazy. It's just that it's doing it a ton of times. Is that a good way to say it?
Yeah. Each step of the calculation is not groundbreaking, but when you create a model, which is, maybe these layers of computation, maybe you're doing different things at each step, you actually get a really interesting emergent property out of them. And I would even remind folks, this is really getting nerdy, man. I hope this is okay. I would remind folks the transformer architecture, the transformer is what the T in ChatGPT stands for, came from a paper written by Google back in 2017. Attention is all you need. Yes. And I recommend, this is a fun paper to read because it effectively shows how these transformers are built. It's hard to read. It's a white paper, so it is a scientific paper, but frankly, there's plenty of YouTube videos that talk about them, or whatever your best way to understand high complicated things are. My whole point is these transformer models, the use case that they talk about in the paper itself was for translation, translating from English to Russian, from Spanish to Greek, right? The interesting properties of these transformers is they work great for translation, but it really seems like they have some other properties that we could get out of them. And even if people look at what Google AlphaFold did, they were able to map all of these protein modeling just using effectively transformers. They took the same architecture, changed it up a bit, and they had it apply to a biomedical research that has now won them a bunch of Nobel Prizes.
Interesting.
So, anyway, sorry, we're going super deep. I hope, does that make any sense?
Okay, so I'm still missing what the weights do. So if why do I need to own my own weights? Like if I have that Google Cloud thing,
Mhm.
maybe you can pull. Could you put that one back up on the? Oh, you have it. So that tuned model URL
Mhm.
has kind of a locked-in model that's learned some stuff.
Mhm.
Why do I need to own my own weights? I'm still missing that.
To be able to trust Google that they're not going to touch your data, or if we, my company is CPA clients, we sign a bunch of NDAs with our customers. We cannot be releasing any of their data to a machine learning algorithm.
So it's purely about privacy.
Correct.
Okay, so that's why you said think of the weights as being like a CSV file. It's the data itself.
Yeah, that's fair to say. The data runs through this CSV file that transforms it. Right.
All right, got it. So yeah, you want, for privacy's sake, you want to own your own weights, but the model that you're training, if you don't care about privacy, I'm good to use this thing that you're showing on the screen here.
If we're throwing privacy out for a hackathon.
Okay, got it. Okay.
Showing a proof of concept.
Got it.
We could do these things. And I'll make one more note, and really nerdy. When we are fine tuning these models, it will get very expensive if you're not careful.
If you're not what?
Careful. Because if you're talking about a 1 billion parameter model, when I am fine tuning them, I'm effectively going through that 1 billion parameters and like slightly adjusting each one, maybe up or down, left or right, whatever you want to think about it. Okay. 1 billion seems like a lot. Most of the large language models that we use, if you are using them on a daily basis, are like 500, 600 billion parameters. It's a lot more expensive to fine tune one of those models. So why are you mentioning this, Paul? Because one of the cool tricks you can do is you almost do a layering of models where you'll have like a large model that you query and it runs its output through a smaller model that you've already fine tuned. So the larger model, think of that as the brain. It will run it through a smaller model, which you've already fine tuned to only want output in this format. Does that make sense?
Not completely.
It is a way to save a lot of money if you are trying to run these models yourself. But maybe we're getting too in depth.
So you've already trained a model to expect a certain input and define a certain output.
Correct.
And then your other model is running it through that smaller model.
Correct.
And that's how you save money somehow.
Yeah.
Okay. No, I think that makes sense. That makes sense.
That is more the circumstance of I want to own the weights. I want to run this myself.
Let me throw an analogy and see if I'm on the right, at least in the right ballpark.
Yeah.
All right. So is it sort of like I've got a physical lake of water, and rather than exploding the dam and letting the lake just flood out, I'm pushing all the water through a small pipe so I control the output.
Sure.
Is that kind of a way? So like that way I'm not wasting as much water. Like I might be trying to water some crops in a valley, and I could just dump the whole lake out onto the valley, or I could build a pipe to the specific part that I want to deploy the water to save money. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So you're having to do the work to build the piping, right? And that's more like maybe that's the brain power work you have to do to funnel it to that specific use case that you're trying to do. Is that
absolutely fair?
Okay.
And that's an important analogy too, because as we think about these models getting smarter and smarter, and we all, I feel like every 6 weeks there's a new news headline that it's like we're all going to be out of jobs because these AIs are getting so smart. Sure, I skeptical of those headlines. The architecture to build that pipe, to get it to do a specific use case, to water the crops, you don't always, it's not very straightforward if you're asking a large model to build you that pipe. We all have experienced this. If you have used these models in any way, you get hallucinations, you get things accidents that happen. And so that is something we have to be really aware of when we're building them. If we are going to put them in a live data environment where they're going to be interacting with our customers or impacting our instance of Acumatica or our live sensitive data.
And the other thing that it makes me think of is the cost of building a physical pipe is a construction project, and the dollar per hour wage of a laborer who builds that pipe is a lot lower than the dollar per hour wage of the laborer who builds the AI equivalent of the pipe, right? So you do have a human a human limitation there, right? Skills and it essentially boils down to money, right?
Yeah. If I'm thinking about this metaphor and I'm playing it out, you're absolutely right. I could see, and I think we've talked about this many times in the past, where there's always a temptation for the programmatically inclined of us, or those who know how to get really cool data out of a system. Sometimes you want to automate all these tasks and get rid of Excel. We don't have to use that anymore because we can build this all in Acumatica. But maybe just exporting an Excel sheet, doing a quick calculation is maybe the easiest solution because we're all familiar with it.
No, great point. Yeah, AI is the new shiny tool. So you're trying to solve everything with AI, but I think it's going to shake out where AI is going to have specific use cases, and you're still going to be using Excel for the other stuff or whatever tool it is, right? Yeah.
Sure. And frankly, again, I'll bring it up again. Transformer was invented in 2017. We are just finding interesting applications for this tool and playing around with different ways to use a transformer to get cool functions out of them.
So we're not super worried about AI taking over the world yet, although I always like to put this out there. If it ever does come to that battle, I've already decided I will die on the battlefield. I'm not going to go to the human zoo for the AI. Just putting that out there, AI
It's
machine.
really,
Let you know, but yeah.
I think maybe too people have seen Terminator too many times. Anyways, okay, so back to the solution. Rein in all of our crazy thoughts. We are just taking this email, and the point of fine tuning specifically is to make sure that the output looks exactly like this. At the hackathon, there were like a lot of fascinating solutions that were using AI. One of my personal favorites was Team 2. They were using AI to do effectively data labeling of photos that had to do with manufacturing orders. And they were running it through one of these large models. And they gave it tons of these examples where they ran this prompt through a large model with this photo and got out a description of what that part was. It was for a manufacturing process. Awesome. So cool. Huge shout out to all the guys that I'll have to go to my LinkedIn post to get all of their names. Absolutely amazing team. But this solution is still using prompt engineering. And if anyone actually was at the Acumatica conference and heard the direction of AI that Acumatica is implementing, they are fundamentally going in a direction to use large models with prompt engineering. Okay, this is writing a really detailed prompt and telling the model, I want you to do these exact steps, and I want the output to look exactly like this. You can do a lot with that. That is actually a great solution. Really fundamentally fantastic. But
let me make sure I'm thinking of the right thing. So when you're talking about the direction Acumatica is going in. So that makes me assume you are talking about this thing, the AI Studio prompt editor thing. Is that right or no?
Oh, sorry, I'm seeing the StreamYard.
Oh, what did I do wrong? Let's try it again. Present. Share entire screen. Okay. Do you see it now?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Is this what you're talking about?
Absolutely. This is
Okay.
a prompt that you're creating. Yeah, you see it, the LLM prompt, LLM response. You can give it very specific, even like maybe system information. You could get cool things out of this. This is actually a really exciting solution.
And so this is what you're talking about when you say prompt engineering. It's basically the art of writing the text that's in that prompt instructions tab that we see on the screen.
Correct.
Now, the solution you were talking about that was a manufacturing solution. Was the challenge with that one that they were kind of creating a new prompt every time?
No, they had sort of, some people break prompts up into system level prompts and then instruction level prompts. A system level prompt is something that along the lines of, you are a very helpful assistant. You are always courteous. We're working in Acumatica. Here's some of our business information. And then the actual prompt someone types in is, I'm working with sales order 12345. I'm working with customer John Doe. This is what they're requesting. For the example I gave with team 2, I didn't actually read a lot of their prompts, but it would be, I believe it's something along the lines of like, you are doing photo classification for parts. Here's all of the SKU numbers we have. Here is a description of the part. I want you to match the part in the picture with the SKU number we have, something along those lines.
So even though I can't run it in my local environment, if you were to send me the customization project right now and I loaded it in, would I be able to find the prompt in that customization project?
For team 2? I don't know.
For you. No, for your team.
For our team. No, but you would find the. No, you wouldn't.
Is it hidden in that Google URL thing?
I'll share it. Don't worry.
Okay. Sorry. I'm getting it. Yeah, you rein me in. My job is to go like this, and your job is to keep us going.
I don't know. That's a bad job for me. I follow along with you, and we go. Anyways, team 2 did this great prompt engineering solution. There's a bunch of other teams that did very similar things. Acumatica, as a whole, is moving towards doing prompt engineering. And they sort of threw in, I believe they had an AI timeline where they were expecting in 2 years or something along those lines to have AI working within Acumatica. And then maybe 3 years down the line, they used the hip term called AI agents. Okay.
AI agents. Okay.
AI agents. Fundamentally, what my team did at the Hackathon, Team 4, we actually we fine-tuned a narrow AI agent. And how we did that was by specifically telling the model, we only want you to output this JSON object. We then are pushing that through the API in the business logic layer to interact with, to create sales orders, right? Mm-hmm. Why is that significant? Most AIs that people use will be for chatting, responding to customers, create a sample email. Classification, it will be for classification of pictures, classification of what is this person asking. Not very many people have put AIs straight into the business logic layer, where it is actually doing a function within Acumatica without human intervention. The reason this is interesting is we fine-tuned a model that gives an object to create a sales order. We could fine-tune another model on 20 or 100 emails that creates maybe a shipping order.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have an army of these little narrow AIs that do one task and always output into that one task. And I'll even say another interesting part. If it fails, if it hallucinates, if it decides to sing, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and it tries to put that within the body object of a JSON call will fail. And we will have record of that failure.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not worried about a hallucination, let's say, interacting with a customer and saying an incorrect thing.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's functioning in the business logic layer, we can track that.
I like this. All right, let me see if I can phrase it. Instead of an AI agent, to use Acumatica language, you've almost built an AI import scenario or an AI
Perfect.
ETL. Okay. I like
Yes.
it. I like it. So it has the guardrails and you contain the explosion when it does hallucinate. I like that.
And that's actually the example I gave on stage when I was giving this hackathon presentation, is we built this narrow AI in 24 hours. How interesting would it be if we could interact with this AI via an import scenario? Then we can have our low code, no code folks who work in the Acumatica world. Again, if we use this example, they would have a GI that pulls a sales order. They have it in an import scenario. They run it through this AI, and it gives them a sales order. Maybe one AI pulls out the customer ID, and one AI maybe pulls out what item they're trying to order, or something along these lines. So it's these narrow AI solutions, I fundamentally believe, is how we are going to interact with AI within our SaaS solutions.
I like that. At least from a real usefulness, right? I think that what's always going to get the marketing buzz is talking to the computer, the natural language stuff. But to me, like the reliable, the more reliable part of it, and the part of it's that really doing industrial scale work, is going to be more like what you're talking about. I think. I like that.
Yeah, and I think in your previous podcast too, one of the guests mentioned something that I was like, that is such a phenomenal idea. That couldn't we build something where a marketing agent could be on the sales room floor with a customer, and they just talk right into their phone, and they say, I'm with customer John Doe, and he wants to order 12 pallets of XYZ. And we can use natural language processing. It's really, really simple to convert that to text, push that up to an AI, to maybe that starts a whole process, and it can interact with Acumatica.
And that's where you might have the multiple AI thing going on, right? You might have the natural language AI, but it then is going to feed it to the import scenario AI to actually do the work and contain the explosion a little bit, right?
And
I hadn't thought about that.
It's interesting. Like, we can talk in our phones and say, make a to-do list, go buy eggs, go buy bread, and it will convert our voice into text. Okay, so we can do that. We can then have that transcript be pushed up and maybe stored into the notes section of Acumatica. Okay, great. So we got our transcript from our voice into the notes section of Acumatica. Not hard from there to go, okay, now we're going to be taken from this notes section of Acumatica, and I want you to try and classify what this person is asking based off of this transcript. And one mini AI can go, this looks like he's trying to make a sales order. And then we can go to our next, okay, pull up the sales order AI. If you are following the metaphor, these narrow AIs, if I can show in 24 hours, less than that, we can train one that can create sales orders. All of these scenarios I don't have to have a magical breakthrough solution to get them. It just takes some time. Like, if I have time to build this, we can create this product.
That's really interesting. I'm playing right now with a business event here. I'll show you what while you're describing that, I'm visually thinking this. That what you're talking about is something like a business event which can sit on top of, I believe, let me find one that's
Yeah.
that would sit on top of a generic inquiry. Let's see.
Yeah.
Let's take like I always take the bills and adjustments just because everyone has that. So this is a generic inquiry. It would sit on top of that, and I'd probably run it on a scheduler, so it's not instantaneous. Let me, once that pulls up, let me do that.
Tim, what does AUG stand for?
Acumatica user group.
So obvious. I was trying to think of that earlier.
So
yeah,
schedule, I would probably do like schedule, and then it sounds like what you're talking about is adding the ability to pipe it to an AI thing as a subscriber on here. Is that kind of where you're going with that?
Totally.
Interesting. Huh.
And again, I'm surprised Acumatica is not putting a lot of resources into creating a subscriber that can make a sales order from a narrow AI agent, or pick any manual function that you've done in Acumatica in the last week.
Yeah, I wonder, is it hard to make it generic enough to do that? Like
You're absolutely right.
Maybe that's the
making
challenge.
It generic enough. You are totally right. And on top of it, if I'm going to be making a sales order, I need to know what the customer ID is. I need to know what the
well, then that is kind of what that screenshot earlier was doing, right? Because you're able to plug in the data elements to the prompt. So it is kind of acting like that.
If you want to get, again, try not to get too nerdy.
Why?
Another fun.
Why not?
Another fun architecture is something called RAG, Recovery Augmented Generation, I believe. It doesn't matter, but what it is it's an AI agent that you give full read access to your database. And then you can ask that AI questions about your database.
Okay.
That's not super complicated, right? Here's access. I'm talking to Tim Rodman. Can you find a customer ID associated with Tim Rodman? And it'll probably query, and maybe it'll mess up, or maybe it'll give the right customer ID. Great. The more you train it, the better. Why is that interesting? Because then I can have another AI agent query that guy, and that's the augmented generation. One AI agent asking another AI agent, who is the expert on my database, who this customer ID is, and what's the non-stock item, and here's the necessary information, just based off of the approximation of this small model that just read. Yeah. The way we did RAG for ours was in system prompts, which would count as
in
prompt.
What? Say it again.
We did it with our system prompt, which is prompt engineering. We did not have a RAG agent reading our database and then giving But that would fit really, really easily into the architecture. And that would not be, again, a hard connection. The reason I'm getting excited is there are so many little ways that you can start clicking these pieces together like Lego bricks and building some really incredible.
Yeah, just the simple idea of AI talking to AI, because this is very new to me. I hadn't even thought about that. And that just makes it, from an understanding perspective, it makes it way easier for me to understand. Instead of this huge brain that knows how to do everything, which is kind of how I've always perceived ChatGPT as, now you're talking about a way to have a bunch of little brains where I have more trust that I know what they do and I know what to give them and they give me back. And that's a lot easier for me to understand. And then I also like it just from the perspective of it being easier to troubleshoot, right? Or when the thing breaks, you know who to blame and stuff like that. Because that's the challenge I have with the huge, big AI brain.
Oh, yeah.
When we start
especially if it's
world stuff, right? Yeah.
Is it the wizard behind the curtain? You know?
Yeah. Yeah. How does it work? Like, I want to really understand what I'm entrusting my computer to do. And the model you're talking about allows me to do that. I like that. Yeah.
Also, the way the groundbreaking models right now are working, effectively, we're doing text prediction. Okay, right? So everyone who has ever texted someone on their phone, have you seen the suggested next word?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Effectively, I'm just adding a bunch of suggested next words and guessing and creating a sentence out of it, right? I'm guessing what the next word is. Great. Why are you saying this? Because we found something interesting when the models got big enough, the guessing the next word started to get really, really interesting. And then when the models got even bigger, they did something where they changed changed the model architecture. And I'm going into deep waters. This is actually something I'm not as familiar with, is they made reasoning-based models. The reasoning-based models turn those prompts and ask itself over and over the question you're asking. So if you say, what is the meaning of life? It's going to say, the user is asking for the meaning of life. I want you to, and it's talking to itself, explore what meaning means to humans. Explore what might be impactful to this user. And it's giving itself prompts to explore deeper. You can see this, I believe in I think it's the O1 model, I think it's called in ChatGPT. That stands for the reasoning models. Okay. What's interesting about that is you can actually display its reasoning process. So if you ask it a big complex question, it will show you its reasoning steps of why it brought you to the solution.
Mm.
Sometimes it goes way off base and it misses, but you can usually read through the reasoning responses to understand where the process broke. Anyways, but that's more of the big brain. It's less of the narrow AI models.
You're creeping me out, but I didn't want to interrupt you. Okay.
I'm wondering if I could even find an example of this, but maybe we're going way too deep and it's like 9 o'clock and I'm like.
Let me come back to your spreadsheet. I want to make sure I understand something about AI. Can you show that 2-column spreadsheet again?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now you're pulling me back.
Okay, so the 2-column. Here's my elementary school understanding of AI at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Typical math that I learned was you come up with the formula yourself. Like, you want to graph something in a certain shape on your graphing calculator back in high school. And the whole trick is you have to figure out what the formula is to make it graph that certain kind of a shape, right?
Yep, got it.
The way I understand the AI works is you give it column A, which is inputs, and you give it column B, which is this is what the output should be if I get column A input, and it figures out the formula for you, and you never even really see what the formula is. Is that how it works?
Tim, perfect.
Okay, so you train it on what we're seeing on the screen, where now it knows, okay, if I have this input, it should look like this. If I have this input, it should look like this. And it keeps going down. How many rows did you have again if you go to the bottom?
I think we had 20 examples, and then we ended adding synthetic data.
Just do like control down arrow to get to the bottom of that.
21.
What is that? 21.
So
okay.
20.
Yeah,
if
21
the first
examples.
one is 20
So
examples.
When you say train it, you train the machine to know that if I do this, it gets this output.
Correct.
Is this where the epoch thing comes in? That graph of like loss and epoch stuff, or no?
Yes. Yeah, that's exactly
it.
Okay,
so it's able to come up with a formula that predicts it pretty accurately when you get to like number 6 on that graph. What does that 6 mean?
Okay, so we have loss on the left-hand side, and these are epochs, whatever you want to say, on the x-axis. I always use the example of, if I just create a new Gemini chat.
Like, here's what I think the 6 mean. I think the 6 means I only had to go 6 rows down my Excel sheet. I didn't even have to get to row
Oh,
21. I don't think
okay,
that's
that's what
true,
you're
though.
asking. Yes,
I don't think
no,
that's
no, no,
true.
no, no. That actually has to do with the batch size. This gets into a little bit like nerdy. How do you train these models? Is that okay?
Sure. Yeah, sure.
So the way you train these is you pick a batch, which is normally a random. It randomizes our rows and it picks 4 random examples.
Okay.
Your batch size could be bigger, it could be smaller, whatever.
So that's important to know. I don't care about the sort order of the data that I fed it. It's going to randomize. Okay.
Correct. Then with those 4 rows, it will. I'm going to do this as an example. If I take this input, I copy the input column A, and I'm just going to put it into a random model here.
Okay.
This model doesn't know what I'm asking for. So its output is, oh, this is an email. This looks like the order date. Here's the purchase order number. Here's some key points. Okay, great. So now with a vanilla model, it will then measure how close this output was, this output to this expected output.
That makes sense. Yep.
And as you can see, it was off the charts bad.
Okay.
So then the fine tuning is it goes.
So on Epoch 1, it has no idea what the output's supposed to look like. After Epoch 1 runs, it gets its first education in what the output is supposed to look like.
Correct. And that brings the loss down to, I think it's at like 130 here.
Okay.
And for each test, they do a thing called back propagation. It back propagates. It goes through the model, adjusts its weight accordingly, and then runs it again. Okay, the loss was still pretty high there. Runs it again. Now it's probably outputting. We could even use an example. I wonder if we could train one right now, but maybe that's my crazy brain and it's bedtime already. But
it's really up to you. Like, are the kids still running around?
I wonder if we could do this.
Your wife can be okay with this. Yeah, it's up to you. I can go later than you can.
Model? How could we come up with some fake data? Fake model for.
You're gonna try to fine tune your existing model?
Oh no, I'm just gonna use a brand new. I'm gonna show what tuning might look like.
Love it.
And we'll do just one. That's fine. And batch size is 4. Great. And then let's create some data.
Is this whole Gemini thing you're using, is there a cost for this, or is this all free?
There is a cost.
What is it? Is it crazy?
I think I'm paying $20 a month or something like that for this.
Not bad. Okay.
There's similar prices for ChatGPTs for whatever model you pick. Yeah. Anyways.
Any reason why you went with Gemini over ChatGPT or Claude or whatever the other ones were? You just easier user interface?
I've been playing with all of them, and this just happens to be the month where I'm playing with Gemini.
Gotcha. Okay.
And Gemini has been bragging that their token length is the longest. I think you can have as much as 2 million tokens. It means effectively. Yeah, never mind.
It's not a huge endorsement. It's a very soft endorsement. Okay.
Oh yeah. Frankly, a lot of these AI models they're making where you could do anything with them, and they're very interchangeable too. So.
Okay.
All right. So let's use this exact example. I think that will just be easiest. I'll take my input. You know what? Actually, we'll do the whole Excel sheet into here, but stop it at one epoch and see what it might look like. Does that sound fun?
Yeah.
So here we're gonna go and tune a model and think page podcast, right? Import some data. Learning. Cool. First headers. Got it. Oh, yeah. Input, output, input. Beautiful. All right. So we have good and advanced. We'll do 4 and just 1 epoch and see what happens. Oops, is this the one? Yeah, 1 epoch. All right, we'll let that run.
So while it's running, batch size was 4 on your other one, and yet you had epochs that were more than 4.
Yeah,
so
yeah. I had epochs of
trying to understand the
probably
difference
20.
between batch size and epoch.
So actually, this is a perfect example here. You can see this step function. There should be 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, effectively 4. It looks like they're actually taking 1 row and then back propagating per row. I wonder if I could chat this now. Okay. Should I cover anything on this screen? You guys sort of see.
Even within an epoch, it's learning because of the batch size somehow. Okay.
Correct. All right. Now let's find out how this responds to a random one. Oh, that's a long email. That'll really mess it up. You know, why not? Let's find out what happens. All right.
So now you've taught it something, and now you're not going to teach it anything more. You're going to say, based on what you know now, I want you to guess what the output should be for this new email.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. All right. Let's find out what happens. Very long email. Very complicated. Yeah. So this looks
not even close.
Not even close. This looks exactly like what this did.
It didn't learn much in 1 epoch.
It looks like it pulled out maybe some of these.
Oh, okay, okay.
Maybe, but
interesting.
Nothing too interesting. We could probably read through here and find what information it may have improved upon. Now, can I go back and continue training this? I don't know.
You're just gonna go like one epoch. I feel like I should be saying epoch. It's because it's not epic. Epic is like, something that's amazing. Yeah. This isn't epic yet.
let's tune. I'll do another one. AUG podcast.
If you have enough epochs, then you eventually get something epic, something like that.
Touche. That's very good. AUG podcast.
What was interesting to me about that initial graph is how fast it dropped, like how fast it was able to minimize that loss. And I wonder if a lot of that had to do with how specific you were about the output. I wonder.
Examples. That's an example. Beautiful. And now in advance, we're let's do 3 and see what would happen.
Where did you get batch size 4? Is that just the default? Just kind of a general default?
That's what it defaults to. Okay. In most things that I've run on my own local instance, I've usually run batch size of 4.
Okay. I'm good with that.
Don't know
that
if I've
starts
read.
getting into the math, right? That starts getting into the reason why you do certain things, and I don't care about that. I'm like, I'll just take whatever the general one is. Makes sense.
Yeah.
So we were in like the 20 to 40 range in terms of loss, whatever that meant.
This is our first one, right? So our loss is still in like the 120.
And what is that? 120 what? 120 something. Some math thing,
gooseberries. I don't know, something random.
Okay. What do I want it at? I want it less than 1?
Yeah, 0.
Okay. Yeah, well, of course, 0.
To answer your questions, if I did this myself, I would know more about what the loss is specifically measuring. To these AI models, like I highly recommend anyone listening to this, if you are have any level of programming knowledge, I highly recommend Andre Karpathy has an amazing YouTube series. I'll give Tim Rodman the link to it. He'll post it in the notes of here.
Well, let's just do it here. Andre Karpathy YouTube.
Oh, yeah. Andre.
I see his YouTube channel. I'm just going to drop it in the chat.
Yeah. He has a series in YouTube where he will, he even just released a video 12 days ago where he takes you step by step on how to build ChatGPT. But cool. He has a series in here called Neural Network Zero to Hero. It'll take you step by step. He's really good at helping you build to intuition. He was he taught at Stanford. He did their machine learning classes. He was the lead brain behind Tesla's self-driving. And he was one of the founding members of OpenAI. Anyways, super smart guy. He will bring you step by step how to build a transformer model. He starts with basic neural nets and how you can layer neural nets and then do some cool things with them. He gets into what's back propagation. How do you know you're moving in the correct direction when it comes to some of this loss? He goes into some more advanced architecture and then finally gets to where you are building GPT-2 straight on your local machine.
Oh, wow. Anyway, okay.
Sorry. So here we go. We'll go back to our example here. We did 3 epochs, and now we were in the hundreds of loss, and now we're in the 20s. So let's find out how this will respond to another example.
Should we use the same one so we can be fair? Like we use the same crazy email?
Let's see, which one did we use? This one, the really long one. All right, here we go.
I'm nervous.
Yeah.
Not nervous, but
it's got a JSON object.
That is crazy.
It looks.
Wow.
Okay, so I can tell you off the bat, this is not a correct JSON object. This will fail if I run it in Acumatica. But what is the observation?
Way different than the previous one. Like way closer to what we're looking for.
And it's structured. It's in the this looks like a JSON object. They have the correct value key pairs that you need. You have inventory ID, order quantity. You're missing customer ID. You're missing a bunch of things, but it's getting there. Yeah.
So, all right, I'm sticking with the elementary school analogy because I'm still like elementary school when it comes to AI. To me, it's like, do you want AI that's been to the first grade, or do you want AI that's been to what do we do? The 4th grade, right?
Right.
Like if you look at a human, the difference between a 1st grader and a 4th grader is not that different in terms of knowing stuff. There's tons going on, developmentally, but brain-wise, not a huge difference. But when you're talking about AI and going to when the AI goes to school, it gets a lot smarter between grade 1 and grade, what did we do? 4? How many epochs did we do?
4 epochs.
4, yeah. That's crazy. And it wasn't a lot more work for it to do, right?
No, when I'm using Gemini Studios, frankly, if I was doing this on my own GPUs, it gets expensive.
Okay.
And again, it's just computationally hard to run through a 4 billion parameter model.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But not that hard. 4 epochs, 4 batch normalizations, 16 times you're running through your model, probably more.
But what's crazy to me is you just did this live. We didn't have to say, okay, Paul, let's check it tomorrow, right? I mean, it just ran live like that and came real.
It's a little bit of the hokey pokey magic within Gemini AI Studios. They've built this studio so that you can make these models really, really quickly.
Okay.
Again, if I'm owning the weights, it's going to take a whole lot more time.
Sure.
But
okay.
You still get the magic, though. You still get some pretty cool magic.
really, most of the cool stuff that you did on the hackathon project was doing what you were just showing us. And then at the end of the day, you're just calling that Google URL and feeding it some JSON data, and it's coming, and feeding it, the JSON email, and it's coming back with the JSON object that you run through an API, right? Yeah. You showed us the cool part, even though we didn't look at it in Acumatica.
No, that's perfect. You're putting a nice bow on this present or idea, whatever that I'm making. If you want to understand the code and pretty much what we did, effectively, all we did was go to our Acumatica endpoint, logged into the Acumatica endpoint, pulled out the email. This is literally just the email endpoint. I saved the sales order endpoint so that I could call that. And ATS, this is what we were tracking all of our JSON objects with. So this is more for troubleshooting. And then,
wait, I missed that. Did you do the Gemini URL yet? Was that the previous?
That's okay. Right. And I should probably not share. That's fine.
Sorry, it's too late. I wish I could edit it.
That's fine. Honestly, I'm pretty sure, and it's only pinging a very specific model. So maybe I'll go change it after this. Anyways, then I'm going to my Gemini model. This is the system instructions that I was talking about, where I'm just reinforcing. I already fine-tuned it. I know it's only going to give it, but I'm just in case.
So before you were pasting in the email input. This is giving the email input with a little more prompt to it. Okay.
Correct. Yeah. Correct. And frankly, I don't actually know if this more information is necessary. That is one of those things where.
Gotcha.
Okay. Yeah. Let's not
theory meets practicality, right? You're still in the real world. Doesn't matter. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And frankly, that's where the important tests are. I think I say in my blog post, there was a certain point where we had like 50% error rate. And this was happening because I fine-tuned the AI model maybe too much, so that if I gave it another email, it was making a confident prediction and it was confidently incorrect. And so you can read it more in the blog post if you guys are curious. We went and made synthetic data, which was another 20 emails that were in the same format, were from unknown people. So it's just a random email that's got made up. And then we would map that. So if the email was actually asking for a real inventory ID, we'd add the real inventory ID. The example I'll give here is, bam, we imported these, which if the AI model did not know who this email was coming from, it should fill in customer ID as a guess. If the AI model did not know what the inventory ID was, it should say not found. The benefit of that is, as you add those examples into your training set, you would hope, you would experiment and play around with this AI model to make sure that if you had one example that's just saying, send me $200, this AI model is going to go, well, I don't really actually know who that customer ID is. Not really 100% sure what the inventory ID they're asking for is. I'm just going to say this is a guess and the inventory ID is not found. And we can still create the sales order and just mark it as needs reviewed by a human.
Yeah. So you said that, you're not sure how much of that prompt is really needed. What I really hear is, I think the more prompt, the better, because the more guardrails you're putting on it, the more safeguards, the more predictable the output is going to be, right?
Yeah. Again, that is the goal. Yeah, predictable output.
It makes sense. I like it.
And so even within this system prompt,
which hold on, before you go further on that, to me, that also underscores why this screenshot, where did I have it? This screenshot here. it just underscores why this is so important. That prompt is important down here, right? And so I like that Acumatica is heading in the direction of allowing you to tweak that instead of making it a black box. I like that, because that's what essentially you're showing right now.
Absolutely. And frankly, well, no, let's not get too much. Let's stay on target. Like I said, we inputted what our customer IDs are to be expected. This can be replaced with a RAG augmented AI. We inputted what the expected inventory IDs are, and we repeatedly told it, if you are not sure, put in not found. If you are not sure on customer ID, put in guess.
Can I ask on the RAG, could the RAG also be, hey, go look it up in this generic inquiry, which is a list of every single email we currently have, and that way it's live. It doesn't have to learn it. You don't have to learn again. It's just able to do a live lookup to whatever your current data is.
Yeah, you do. The reason it's important to experiment with a lot of these things is you'll always end up with unforeseen circumstances. Welcome to every programming problem ever. But you're absolutely right. If I give it read access to, here's all of the previous emails that have become sales orders, here's all of the shape of them, or here's all of our inventory IDs or customer IDs, and here's all our contacts, it should be able to find who we're specifically looking
for. Okay.
Yeah. Anyways, okay, so then within the Google AI, I'm telling it this is the tuned model that I'm looking to talk with. I use this as just an example, but here's an example prompt. And
I thought we already did the prompt. What's that?
Yeah, I never actually used this. This was just for testing purposes. Okay. The code. I believe, yes, here was the example I used for the hackathon. I went in, logged into Acumatica, got all the emails, pulled the first one or the newest one, and here's the email. It was, good morning, hope you have a great weekend. I'll be sending a team member over later today. Can you have 2 pallets of beef drippings for them to pick up, etc., etc. Ran it through, got our response. Within our response, we pull out the payload. The payload effectively is the JSON object that we're looking to create. And we use that to create a sales order with this payload, the thing we pulled out. And this was our response from Acumatica. Effectively saying, success, we created a sales order for this customer ID. Here's the details with the inventory IDs and the quantity.
So this is the Python code version that you had ready in case you needed it. And then you just made a C# flavor of this in the customization project.
Correct.
Interesting.
I am not, I don't actually think the C# code made API calls to my tuned model, the fine-tuned model. We were going to use this Python code to talk with a model and then push the JSON object over to Acumatica and let the C# code take that JSON object and create the sales order. Long story short, again, as I mentioned, we weren't sure that code was working. We ran into a whole bunch of problems. So I built the ability to do it in here. And in the last 11th hour, it started working. But for demo's sake, we kept this around.
Interesting. That's really cool. What I'm thinking of right now is the whole customization project versus outside of Acumatica thing. And I feel like,
oh yeah,
I feel like a big piece of AI is not really even the model or the prompt. Like eventually you get that right. It really comes down to how much data you had to train it, doesn't it? And so right. I feel like a lot of these AI models, I don't want it just to be my own stuff. Like it becomes a legal challenge. Like I want to somehow participate in a cohort of people who are trusting each other enough to share the data so we can have more data to make the thing smarter.
but then having some balance, right? I don't know how, but it becomes like a legal challenge, doesn't it? Where it's like there's a lot of trust into entering into an AI thing. And then the reason you're doing it is because you're smarter together rather than on your own, right? And I'm just talking about from a data standpoint, right?
Again, it really, you're absolutely right, Tim. And I believe there was a hackathon project that got turned into a real Acumatica project. And that was creating GIs from a prompt. And effectively what they did was they took all of these GIs that tons of customers all donated and gave and said, and maybe like a one-line description of it, like, this is all of my purchase orders, whatever. Then you could prompt that AI and have it create a GI for you. That's really, really cool. But it gets back into the fundamental question you asked previously is almost like what's the input, what's the output? And if I have business, like my business domain knowledge in the input and the output, it doesn't really make sense to share that. Because we're using my customer IDs, we're using my non-stock items.
Yeah, I'm actually thinking of it. Well, you're saying you don't want to share it for privacy reasons?
Correct.
I'm actually thinking of it, the more you're talking about it, I'm thinking of it that actually I don't want a smarter thing because I only want it to do what I want it to do. Like if I have other people's emails, it's going to pollute the intelligence of mine, right? Because it's going to have their items that I don't care about and other stuff, right? So there's the privacy angle, but there's also it's not going to get smarter. It's going to get dumber if I have other people in there, right? On certain things, depending on what the use case is. Like on your use case, where it's customer emails to sales orders, I don't want it any smarter than my data, right? Because it's not really going to be smarter in a sense.
There's a term in the machine learning community that they constantly are taking snapshots and they're measuring their models because these models can quickly go like off base. And you need to like Control V or not Control V, Control Z all the way back to, oh crud, I really messed it up back here. And I really need to go back like 12 steps because it just went into a path and messed it up.
So more data is not always better in these things.
I get it. Like,
it
depends on what we're talking about. What's the solution? Sure. Yeah.
Interesting.
Normally, everyone says more data is better.
Interesting.
I would encourage everyone listening to this, if you're a business owner, on your P&L for every year, you need to have your data on there, like in your asset column. The data you have in Acumatica, in whatever system of record you're using, is worth gold. Don't put shit data into Acumatica. Make sure things are cleaned up. Make sure that it is in the right format. Because if we can then take that data, use it to train a model, you'll get magical results. But garbage in, garbage out.
I'm laughing because what I'm thinking of is back to my accounting classes in school. Like when you would do the accounting transactions to sell a business, basically you would book it to goodwill. Like whatever the assets minus liabilities, whatever you were paying more for it, the entry would just get plugged to goodwill. Now it's like instead of goodwill, it goes to data because that's what you're paying for. That's interesting. It's a big part of goodwill nowadays. That is so interesting.
Yeah, keep your data clean. And more data usually is better for training, but garbage data in, garbage data out.
Well, and here's a good example of like, not even AI, but inventory replenishment. I've seen this, right? Inventory replenishment is like a known formula. You can look it up in the Acumatica wiki, right? It's not a super crazy formula, but it's not super simple either. But anyways, what I encountered with it is I needed a way to like a vendor lead time that was totally bogus because of maybe like bad, like maybe I accidentally entered a purchase order into last year and then I received it, the inventory model now thinks that vendor takes 385 days to arrive. Okay.
Yeah.
How do I eliminate that? Right. I just want that one data point out of there. Right.
Yeah.
And so I can see how once you pollute an AI module, that's why you then go back to a snapshot, because you're like, I don't even know how to undo it at that point. Right.
Yeah.
Because
Totally.
it's like you just polluted it. I don't know a better word for it. You polluted it, and unpolluting it is more work than starting over in a sense, right?
Again, I'm going to get really nerdy again. Some of the
Please do.
largest models, dude, I love it. Some of the largest models, and we all know this, ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, whatever, they are trained on the entire internet.
Yeah,
we say that tongue in cheek, but they are trained on the entire internet. If you're actually curious, anyone can go here, and effectively it's web crawlers. It is web crawlers that have gone to every website, downloaded them, and it's their contents. What's the term?
Ooh, side nerdy note. Do you know if they respect the robots .txt or whatever it is? Yeah, I doubt they do. Yeah. So basically, they stole all of the hard work that we put out on blog posts and stuff. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. Actually, there is one. There was a groundbreaking case, I believe, this last week or 2 weeks ago, where company got in trouble for training their AI model based off of all of these legal documents that someone else owned, right? And I'm really forgetting the details, but it was company A owned all these legal documents. Company B trained an AI model on them, but they could not query that data because then they're liable. So they got like some kind of shady company which scraped all of it and then offered it. And company B was still liable, even though they bought it from an unsavory character, because they like in full knowledge knew that they were training on someone else's intellectual property. So that's actually going to be a really interesting TBD law case. We'll be seeing in the next few years.
Interesting.
Oh man, I have so many sidebar nerdy.
Sorry, I derailed you. You were going down another nerdy point, and I derailed you.
Where was I going with that?
The whole internet. You were on the whole train on the whole internet.
Got it. So these large language models, they are effectively being trained on web crawlers, and as like they're getting wicked smart in like math, coding, translation. They're getting wicked smart at being able to spot if this is cancer in a example. Or anyways, okay. What do all four of those have in common? They are getting wicked smart at things that are correct or not correct, binary, Boolean, true, not true. One thing these AI models are struggling with is if you ask it like philosophical questions, you'll sort of get like you'll get an answer, but it's like a 19-year-old's answer, or I don't know, like someone who read 2 interesting philosophy books level answer. They're not getting much better when it comes to things that are not directly true, not true.
That doesn't surprise me at all. Yeah.
And frankly, some people are arguing maybe training on the entirety of the internet isn't going to get you to higher levels of reasoning. Like it'll get it so you can sound to like, let's say people say pass the Turing test. Like you could chat with it. You're not sure if this is a computer or not. It sounds human, right? But higher level reasoning maybe comes not exactly from the entirety of people's cooking blogs, like,
No, I'm totally with you. Like it needs to be able to take a walk out in nature or something to be able to start to understand those things. Yeah. And I'll go back to die on the battlefield. It just ain't ever going to happen, in my opinion. I think there's a limit to this whole AI thing.
Oh yeah, and I highly recommend. My favorite book on this is actually from David Deutsch, who wrote The Beginning of Infinity. He is a physicist who's most famous for his work in quantum computers. But anyways, all that to say, he argues that we don't even know what intelligence is, and it's really hard for us to like actually express what intelligence is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and usually, unless we actually understand something, we can't really program a robot to do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, maybe they're getting really smart at answering math questions and helping with coding and diagnosing an image as cancer. But like, if we actually want to say they are going to get into intelligence, maybe we should try and figure out what that is.
Yeah. Yeah. How do you really measure that? And I think that's why it comes down to, what you really helped me with on this little broadcast is honing AI into a specific use case. I wasn't
Yeah.
sure how you really do that. I have a much better idea of how you practically do that now. So thank you for taking the time. I really appreciate the education here, and hopefully someone else out there finds it useful. If not, I know I have something I can go back to and watch, rewatch pieces of as I'm on this journey myself. So
I felt like I just got to nerd out for like 90 minutes here. So if any bit of that was beneficial to someone, please, I don't know, send me a message on LinkedIn and just let me know.
Well, let's see, we got your blog here. Do you have like a contact button on here? How do I?
I don't even think, honestly, on my website.
Oh yeah, you got your LinkedIn thing on here. So if I
Okay, beautiful.
Let's round it up with
Yeah.
the
Yeah,
thank you.
I'll round it off with this pitch.
Yeah, go ahead.
If you are a company and you want to figure out how you can use these AI tools and automate within your system and connect them within your business logic layer and do really, really cool things, send us a message at Price Quebeca. I don't even have a link for it, man. I think you have to type in /hackathon.
Oh, I think it's going to be down here. I think people can hit you on LinkedIn right here, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Hit that. That'll take you to your LinkedIn profile, and you can send you a message that way. That's probably the best way. Right?
Absolutely. And again, we are at Price Quebeca. We are doing a lot of really, really fun things with these tools. I highly recommend it. Send us a message if you need help with this. As you can tell, I enjoy nerding out about them and finding cool use cases.
Yeah, so it sounds like this is not just a hobby for you. You're starting to find real world applications of this at your company, Price Quebeca.
Oh yeah,
very cool.
Well, I love bragging on my company, Price Quebeca. We work with a sister company named Autire, which got birthed out of Price Quebeca, and they have automated 401k audits to an incredible degree. Where I don't want to get too nerdy here. I know we're late on time, but
I'm good. I'm just conscious of your time mainly.
When it comes to a lot of 401k audits, if you have more than 100 employees, you're required to do a URSA audit every year. Usually how those audits take place within accounting clients is they will take a sampling of data from your 401k and test them, does column A match column B? What Autire did was they, using machine learning, using some of these cool AI tools, they've created a way where they can actually sample your entire 401k from the last year. It is absolutely incredible. Some of the findings that they find. One of the partners told me, I always joke with him because I'm like, okay, we're talking about 401k. So you're only finding what, like 5-10% errors? Like how often does one of these things actually have problems? And he goes, well, honestly, it's in the 90%. 90% of our 401ks all have errors in them.
Wow.
Yeah, I know that doesn't help me sleep at night, but anyways.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Now, how big the error is the other thing, right? But still, that's very interesting.
Now we do a lot of 401k audits all throughout the year. We are touching a lot of these AI tools and working with them on a daily basis. We also, of course, do tax and accounting and Acumatica consultation, and we do everything in between. But it is just a phenomenal firm. Yeah.
Awesome. Great way to round it out. Paul, thanks again.
Tim, I love geeking out, man. We really had a good geek out here.
We did. All right, we got to do it again sometime soon.
All right, man.
All right. Thanks again for being up late on this.
Yeah, absolutely. Anytime.
All right, well, that's it for now. We'll catch you on the next episode of ogforums.com Real Talk. Thanks for listening, and take care.